So Marvel is completely starting over with the X-Men, starting from scratch at issue number 1. Now that the whole Krakoan age of X-Men is officially dead, Marvel killed it. They are on to new things, maybe not better things, but new things. And if you didn't follow Krakoa, or you kind of got lost along the way and just stopped reading, do not worry, you won't be confused. I didn't read much of it either after Hickman left, so we are not going to cover it here. I'm not even going to touch that. We're just going to keep it simple. It's a fresh start. We're going to treat it as such. So this issue actually opens up with this Alaskan cop getting out of her car and looking at this X compound of some kind, going up to the door and being met by Beast. Now apparently this cop was invited by Cyclops to come and see what they've been doing in this compound in this Alaskan town, and Beast says, well, he actually had to take them out on a mission, so he's not even there to greet her. We then jump to see what this mission is, and we get a better look at who some of the members on this team are. We obviously have Cyclops as the leader, we have Kid Omega, Quentin Quire, who's been a long-standing student of the X-Men for a while. If you don't know him, you will. And then we have Psylocke, we have Magic, Sister of Colossus, we have Juggernaut, as well as an X-Men that I'm personally not very familiar with by the name of Temper. And as they're flying this X-plane and landing on this island full of armed guards in red suits that kind of remind you of AIM, but they have little X logos on their foreheads. They're camped out on this island. Temper is able to nullify the enemies that they would have to face. We see Magic riding on the back of Juggernaut as they bulldoze through him, and the others jump out of the jet. And apparently the reason they're on this island is to look for new mutants that are apparently here that they detected. And because mutants get their powers during puberty, these are likely teenagers that don't know how to use their powers, so they gotta come recruit them, they gotta come scoop them up. Before we jump back to Hank with the Alaskan cop, and Beast is just kind of showing her around, showing her that they're making their own food, living off their own means, just kind of living their own life, just kind of doing the best they can since they lost Krakoa. She then meets Glob, who's keeping the agricultural front up to standard and looking nice, and Chief Robbins basically starts voicing a lot of the concerns from the townspeople about how everyone is kind of wondering what the X-Men are doing in a factory. And the reason they're so concerned is not just because of hatred of mutants, it's actually because the factory that they've taken home in used to be a manufacturer of Sentinels. We jump back to the X-Men mission on one of the lower floors of the compound, where we see Wolverine actually taken prisoner by these soldiers. I thought it was Beast at first, but it's Wolverine. He's already there, so he's one of the people that they're coming to rescue. They all break into this place that they're storing him in, take out the guards even more before Psylocke rushes downstairs to help Logan. Kid Omega then asks, hey, does anyone know why these clowns are wearing our X? And Temper says, did you seriously sleep through another briefing? Quentin's like, look, I used to do a lot of drugs, okay? My memory isn't what it used to be. And Juggernaut gives him the briefing all over again. And we learn that these guys are apparently going by the name Force School, and they believe that these guys are kind of like Frankenstein versions of mutants. So they kind of have like mishmashed bodies that are part human, part mutant, and part AI. And Temper says the good news is they no longer hate us. The bad news is that they want to become us by killing us and harvesting our power. And Cyclops then explains that the reason Wolverine is here is because when they detected these new mutants here on the island, he sent Wolverine out as a scout to find these guys until Logan went off the grid, leaving nothing but a psychic distress signal behind for Psylocke to pick up. Back with Beast, Chief Robbins asks, so you grow food and run rescue missions, but why here? Why Alaska? Because you seem like a smart guy, Dr. McCoy. I believe you know this is not the easiest place in the world to grow food or travel from. To which Beast says, agriculture is just one of many projects that we're working on here. What we really want to do is set up an isolated home where people won't bother us and we won't bother them. We had an Eden, Chief Robbins, one that was taken from us, and now we have to find our place in the world all over again. Now we have to go back to being the unwanteds of Earth, which stops Robbins in her tracks, and she's like, I'm sorry, Doctor, I hadn't thought of it that way. This factory must be a far cry from Krakoa. Back to the mission, we see Psylocke emerging from the shadows to take out the guards that have Wolverine trapped. Omega and Temper take out a remaining Sentinel that's still operating, and when Juggernaut basically says that they're out of robots and out of soldiers, Cyclops says, outstanding, Juggernaut. Now we need to find the mutants we came for. With your old pal Logan. Good to see you, Slim. Give me a second. My healing factor's still catching up with me. And when you look at how bloody and bruised he is, you realize this guy has a healing factor. They were probably testing on him so much because they knew he would be an endless, self-repairing supply of X-gene DNA. But then Quentin Quire gets a psychic reading from other living beings nearby. But when he senses them, he only gets psychic activity from adults. No teenager going through puberty and having their X-gene activated. But if they're adults, how could they be new mutants? We then see 4th Army soldiers burst out of the wall, attacking them from up above, before it cuts back to the police chief and Beast, as she's meeting other characters like Zorn, as well as the final member, Magneto, sitting in his hover chair just like Professor X. Hello, Max, Beast says. I was just showing the chief of police our little operation. Magneto wears a disapproving face. She's going for her gun. Why is that, do you think? Probably because you're scaring her, Max, Beast says, as was your intent. Am I so frightening, Henry? As someone who spent the better part of his teenage years worrying about you murdering me? Yes. And look what a brilliant creature you've become. What all of you have become. It was fear of me that honed Scott into a leader, that made Jean strong enough to wield cosmic power, gave Warren the strength to survive Apocalypse, gave Robert the strength to discover his Omega potential. Charles gave you steel, I tempered it. Henry has a soft touch. He always has. He makes you tea, he shows you Herman's gardens, Zorn's healing. He puts you at ease. He wants you to go and tell all the other humans that we're friendly, that they have nothing to fear. I'm here so that you can tell them the opposite. I am Magneto. I have never been friendly, and I am to be feared. These are my children of the Atom, and they will be allowed to thrive. And back with our X-Men team as they're fighting these 4th Army agents, Psylocke and Kid Omega are able to determine from psychic readings that these are not some whack jobs experimenting on themselves. They're not combinations of human, AI, and mutant. They're real mutants. They're 100% genuine, real mutants. Who activates as an adult? Juggernaut says. We do, X-Man, one of the soldiers says. The game's changed, and suddenly as they're fighting, all of the soldiers disappear, teleport away without a trace. To which Cyclops says, alright, let's get out of here. And once they return home to the base, Wolverine decides that he just cannot do it anymore, saying, don't you ever get tired of losing the civilization game? After Krakoa, after the world has turned on us again, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. I can't build from the beginning again, which is how a lot of fans feel. So it's nice to kind of have that extra voice in there. Maybe I never should have left the woods. That life I understood, he says. Don't come looking for me, Slim. Kid Omega gets off the jet to greet Magneto. What up, Professor M? To which Magneto says, please tell me he's gonna die on a mission soon. And then we jump ahead a bit to Cyclops and Beast talking on the roof. Oh yeah, the chief of police came by today. Damn, Cyclops says. I was hoping to be here by the time she came. How'd it go? And Beast recaps the situation. Oh, you know, I did an extraordinary job of putting her at ease, and then Magneto came through and did what he does. I did my best. All things being said, I think she left mostly favorably inclined towards us. Good, we're gonna need her, Cyclops says. We're vulnerable here. We need to normalize relations with the town. Speaking of the town, Beast says, I'm ready to start taking that thing down if you're ready. Cyclops says, no, not just yet. And then we see a gigantic sentinel frozen over, looking over the town, which kind of explains their fear a little bit better. And Cyclops finishes off the issue saying, I want to be sure they don't forget what they owe us. And I gotta say, man, even though the Krakoan Age was a really special time that I wish they hadn't ended, and really could have and should have been their permanent status quo going forward, in my opinion, I didn't hate this. I didn't hate this as a fresh start. I mean, maybe that has to do with the fact that I wasn't following the entire thing up to this point, but you know, as far as back to status quo, as far as reverting back to the X-Men being the outcasts among humans, you know, Jed MacKay, the writer, did not do a bad job, and it also helps that these character designs are really refreshing and look really, really good. And obviously, along with this relaunch, we have more new X-Men series on the way, so let me know if you want me to cover those on the channel when they come out. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. How do you feel about this issue? Do you think it's a good start? But yeah, that is the video. Thank you for watching.